Then we are still in the relay nuclei. Now is the motor relay nuclei. So here is the ventral anterior and ventral lateral nuclei are involved here. So if you see it, this is the ventral anterior, this is the ventral lateral. So this is cat is more anteriorly. So this is the ventral anterior, this is the anterior nucleus, and this is the dorsomedial nuclei. And if you cut it a little bit posteriorly, then you can see ventrolateral here, and medially you can see dorsomedial, which is this one. So information from basal ganglia, which carries basal nuclei, the same name. It's different textbooks have different names in it. So motor information from there, it goes usually to ventral anterior, and from cerebellum usually goes to the ventral lateral. The information is processed in the thalamus, and from there it goes to the motor cortex. From motor cortex, information comes down to the basal ganglia. Thalamus also has a connection with the basal ganglia, and also motor information comes back to the thalamus, and from there it goes to the cerebellum. So when we get to the basal ganglia, you will know the pathways a little bit more detail. So for now, we understand that there is a bilateral connection between the basal ganglia and cerebellum, and thalamus is providing information to motor cortex, and then motor cortex goes back and provide information back to the thalamus and basal ganglia, and indirectly to cerebellum. So in this image, same idea there. So you have basal ganglia, and you have the ventral anterior and ventral lateral, and from there it goes to the primary motor cortex, which is the one that is conscious usually for fine movements in the distal part of the body, and the supplementary and premotor cortex, and that is for other parts of the body, more proximal and the torso areas. So those areas. And this table is explaining the same thing. So we are in the motor relay nuclei, and the two nuclei that are involved with this ventral anterior and ventral lateral, they receive information from the basal ganglia and cerebellum, and then it sends information to the primary motor cortex, premotor cortex, and supplementary motor cortex. Another one is the limbic nuclei. So this is still part of the relay nuclei. In the limbic system, there's different pathways that's connected to thalamus. So one is the mammillary body, and mammillary body is connected to hippocampus through fornix, and then mammillary body connects to anterior nucleus through mammillothalamic tract. Mammillothalamic tract. Entorhinal cortex, this area, you can see this area, that is connected to the lateral dorsal, and areas that's coming, information that's coming from different parts of the limbic system. It goes to the dorsomedial. So this is dorsomedial nucleus. And then also there is other parts of the limbic system that is shown here in this image. This is the prefrontal cortex and the orbitofrontal cortex, the cingulate gyrus, the parahippocampal gyrus, the entorhinal cortex. These are all part of the limbic system. So this is the area that is connected directly or indirectly with the thalamus. So this is a good flow chart. So from mammillary body, it goes to anterior nucleus, so mammillothalamic tract, and from anterior nucleus, it goes to cingulate gyrus through the internal capsule, and that is important for memory and also for attention. So cingulate gyrus has an important function for memory. Entorhinal cortex, from there it goes to the lateral dorsal nucleus, and from there it goes to cingulate gyrus and parietal cortex. That's for motivation, attention. And from different parts of the limbic system, the information goes to the dorsomedial nucleus, that again goes to cingulate gyrus, prefrontal cortex, and orbitofrontal cortex. And this is important for inhibiting inappropriate behavior. So something that is not a social norm, and that's the cortex of the brain is responsible for it, and you consciously don't want to do it. But sometimes some people are, for example, doing things that suppresses the cortex of brain. For example, they are drinking a lot, and that suppresses the cortex of the brain, and the inhibited areas are now released, and then they do things that they shouldn't do. Just an example. And it's also important for the executive function. So the executive function is important for self-awareness, for emotional control, for planning and problem solving, for working memory, and also for self-motivation. So it has a lot of different function, and that is mainly in the prefrontal cortex. That's the main area. But one more thing that you can notice here in the limbic relay system, so you can see the cingulate gyrus is everywhere. So cingulate gyrus receive a lot of information, and then that takes it to somewhere else. So from cingulate gyrus, it goes to some other parts of the cerebrum.